all your school rugby, all in one place. This is Next Gen 15.
Welcome back to the Next Gen 15 podcast. It's been a little while. Sorry about that. It's largely because myself and Will Roberts, who's joining me as ever, have been busier than you can imagine. How are you, Will?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. I guess I've just been talking off air about the amount of stuff we've been trying to get through. It's the love of the schoolboy rugby season. Everything seems to happen in a couple of weeks, and for you especially, it's been a manic, I see.
Yeah, Mad March, as they call it.
Yes.
From every direction, I think everyone is at the right at the end of their abilities when it comes to the end of March in terms of doing stuff. It's been crazy, but it's been good. We've had everything from Continental Tire Schools Cup finals into Howden Rosslyn Park National School Sevens, Surrey Sevens, Sedbergh Super Tens, back end of the under-20 Six Nations and the under-18 Six Nations kicking off tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's madness, but it's good stuff. It's good stuff. It's the pinnacle of the season, and there's been some really good bits and pieces going on. Not least, you know what, Brighton College back to back, or the double,
Yeah, wow.
I suppose I should say, Rosslyn Park and then the Sedbergh Tens. Absolutely incredible. Not favourites for either competition, and came out on top.
Far from it, especially when it comes to Sedbergh Tens. You look at how the home side sort of dominated on the first day. I think the murmurs and rumours were that it was almost a done deal.
Yeah, it's not that way.
That Sedbergh were gonna sort of get back and retain on sort of home soil, and but no, Brighton College. I think it's very commendable to see a side win one of those competitions, but to win by, especially with the manner in which they are, and for Brighton as well, like. You've got the geographical location of where people are. Like, it's not easy to get to Sedbergh for anyone, pretty much apart from Sedbergh. So you've always got a bit of a drive and a bit of travel. But Brighton were always one of those sides. Basically, have to go from one corner of the UK all the way up to the other. You got Rosslyn Park in between. Like, it's such a test of will and determination to perform so well over four and 5 days, isn't it? Really, and they did just that.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, you're absolutely right. It was as much about will and desire and heart and all of those words as it was about skill. Although there's plenty of skill on show, of course. But it was 5 of the most intense days imaginable. 2 full days at Rosslyn Park, Thursday, Friday. And then for Brighton College, it's a full day travelling up to Sedbergh. It's a 7-hour trip from Brighton to Sedbergh on the Saturday. So their day off is a travel day, and we all know that that's not exactly the sort of day off that relaxes you. And then it's back-to-back days of full-on rugby again in terms of Sunday, Monday. Like the sheer effort and will to get it done is almost the most impressive thing. Not least, you know, there's no doubt that there was they would have enjoyed the Rosslyn Park victory. I'm sure responsibly, but they will have enjoyed that, and yeah, to get back on the horse and ride the high again is so impressive. And they had to scrap it on the Sunday, it said, but they looked like a side that just won Rosslyn Park and were shattered. They I think they had a scratchy 5-0 win. They dropped a game where they rotated players through. Which was another really impressive part about what they did. They wanted to give players a chance. You know, leavers who'd been really good squad members, they wanted to give them game time. And still, with that rotation of players, they got the job done. Chatting to Nick Boy on the touchlines over the course of the couple of days, who, by the way, now has just entered the sort of pantheon of school rugby greats on the coaching side.
Yeah, if he wasn't there already.
Well, yeah, exactly. In fact, you know what, I had a little exchange with him, just sort of congratulating him, because he becomes, I think, only the second coach to have won the St Joseph's Festival, the Rosslyn Park Sevens and the Sedbergh Tens after John Mallett at Millfield, which is pretty good company to have.
Yeah.
And it was then pointed out to me that he's also, as a player, won Rosslyn Park and the St Joseph's Festival. So I challenge anyone to find me someone with a schoolboy coaching and playing career that stacks up to that. There can't be too many about.
Goodness me, yeah.
Extraordinary stuff. But yeah, the work they had to do, and I think he felt that they'd not necessarily played that well at Sedbergh until probably midway through the second day when it suddenly started to click. But what a way to get the job done if you feel like you're not really clicking and you still get there.
It's a credit to the coaching and the management, as you say, because it as it showed with, I think Sedbergh's a great example, and this is not sort of this is more a compliment to Sedbergh than anything else. Those performances on day one are brilliant, and they played some great rugby and really dominated some sides, and they looked really good, and it was very appeasing. But your day one rugby only gets you so far, and then if you can't perform necessarily when it matters because you put so much effort into that day one, that is a credit therefore to the Brighton coaching staff and to the way that the players probably took that upon themselves and went into this tournament mindset, which is something that for 95% of your schoolboy rugby career you're not involved in, because you're playing one game every Saturday, maybe a game on a Thursday, maybe a game on a Wednesday or a Tuesday if you've got a cup fixture. But to pace yourselves, it only happens once a year, and usually only you sort of get a maximum of 2 shots at it. So you don't get that experience of, oh, that's how we did it a couple of years ago, sort of whatever. And Brighton just seemed to manage it really, really, really well. And we've seen a lot of horse racing over the last couple of weeks, but it was a slow and steady sort of a good ride, and sort of were able to sort of pile away and sort of peel off from the field at the right sort of time. So credit to them. It kind of, as you say, puts Nick Boy on the sort of Mount Rushmore of schoolboy rugby coaches, which I'm sure is an idea of something that we could potentially stick our tooth into at some point or another. Who are the other 4? But
I was going to say, yeah. It certainly is, because I've got a few in mind already. And actually, one that we should touch on is Simon Mulholland Noxie,
yes,
at Sedbergh, who Sedbergh Tens was his farewell to Sedbergh School. He's in New Zealand now as we speak. No rest for the wicked, I suppose. He's well, in fact, a couple of years back we named him as our school rugby coach of the decade, and it was a sign of how respected he is that other schools got in touch when we named him that and said, absolutely the right decision, well done, good choice. We don't get interactions like that often, where
usually only people come in and tell us that we're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But they were unanimous in that. He is an absolute legend. It was a shame for him that it didn't all end on the ultimate high with Rosslyn Park triumph or Sedbergh Tens triumph, although they did have a triumph of sorts at Rosslyn Park in that they won the plate, which 99% of schools in the country would be absolutely delighted with. Meanwhile, the Sedbergh squad looked as though they'd just lost a loved one.
All in a day's work. All in a day's work for them.
But I mean, it's a sign of the standards that they set themselves. Because I know that's not come from the coaches. I know that was just the boys being gutted they'd not gone any further. But actually, to show you just how competitive Rosslyn Park is, the Sedbergh side that won the plate won the exact same number of games as the Brighton College side that won the cup. It's just a case of when you drop your game. It's such a close competition. It's so difficult to win, and that plate competition is not much easier, to be honest.
No, it's not.
But yeah, Noxie goes down as a legend of schools rugby, and no doubt he's going to add to that legend in New Zealand. And he tells me that he's planning on becoming a guest on the podcast in the coming weeks and months. The shackles are off now. He can say what he really thinks. No more Mr. Nice Guy from him. He's gonna be sticking the knife into all sorts.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, we'll look forward. We'll get up at ridiculous hours in the morning so that we can match the time zones, and if we can get Noxie on
Exactly.
service,
If
right?
there's one man I'll get up early for, it's Noxie.
Indeed,
He's,
indeed.
he's been an absolute legend. Honestly, the list of successes he's had in terms of trophies, in terms of players that have gone on to further honours, but more importantly, in terms of players that just think he's a legend.
It's his personality. He's such an infectious character. I mean, you really, in my sort of fleeting moments in which I've gone up to Sedbergh, you very, very quickly become part of their community. I mean, that is helped by the fact that there's no other community to be a part of up there. There's just one community, and it is the school. But you're very quickly welcomed in, and you feel part of it. And I can only imagine the pull and the tie that you can create being there for sort of 5, 6 years, 10 years, or however long that you end up at Sedbergh alongside him, and sort of if I can feel that sort of affiliation and affection towards him, sort of having only sort of been up there for sort of 3-4 days at a time, you can imagine the connections that he's able to make and the bonds he's able to bring, which are why Sedbergh, you don't usually see. We don't talk about individual stars at Sedbergh School level too often. We usually talk about them as a collective and a team, and how well they're playing as a team. And that is a credit to the way that he can build his side. He doesn't rely on 1 or 2 superstars to carry his season, and then has a drop off next season because they've gone off, and you wait for the next one. He makes the stars. He doesn't wait for them. So it's a credit to the way that he works.
Absolutely. I always used to make it a point, any Sedbergh 10s I was at, or a Rosslyn Park 7s or something like that, I'd make a point of spending at least a half, often more than a half, stood behind the posts as close as I could get without being in the way, and just listening to the interactions that he had with his staff, with the players, because it was unlike anything that any other coaching group really has in terms of interactions, which is not to say that anyone else is getting it wrong. It's just that he's a unique character, I suppose, in that it's just a utterly relentless surge of positivity at all times. Sometimes you'd see players, getting rotated through because, sevens, you're on and off constantly, and they'll have felt they've done something wrong, and they're almost about to open their mouth and apologise, and he's straight there telling them how brilliant they've been and how good they're going to be when they get back on. And he has this sort of Noxie shuffle that I always sort of point out, that it's this kind of intense sort of prowling motion, but all done with this real positive sense of energy. But anyway, we'll get a lot of stick for giving him far too much positivity, so we won't dwell too much. We also need to introduce the podcast. We basically just walked straight in and gone, brilliant. It's been that busy. This is the Next Gen 15 podcast. I'm Angus.
I mean, if you don't know by now, then that's quite impressive.
Well, yeah, exactly. You know where to find it. All podcast locations: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. And you can find us on @NextGen15, @NextGenXV on social media, and the Next Gen 15 Clubhouse, which is across social media as well. Right, that's all the housekeeping bits that everyone already knows anyway. And a good deep dive on school rugby, straight in with some coaching legends and some incredible achievements. I'm going to go on my sort of annual gripe, which is that the only downside of the Rosslyn Park 7s, or Howden Rosslyn Park National School 7s, I should say, and the Sedbergh 10s, was that some excellent players were missing because we have international rugby, which is great. I love the international rugby. I love the U18 Six Nations Festival. I love the warm-up fixtures. I do wonder if perhaps the warm-up fixtures could be pushed back by 3 or 4 days, and that would allow everyone to play in different games. But who am I to try and make the calendar work? But it is a great shame. I know, without naming any names, that a number of boys from a number of different schools were not just annoyed and frustrated, but deeply upset that they had to basically tell their teammates, I can't play alongside you at Rosslyn Park. Therefore, kind of tanking our team's chances because I've been told by X or by Y that I can't play and I'm not injured. It's not fair that these what are kids, 17, 18-year-olds, 16-year-olds in some cases, are being told that they can't play, but more importantly, it's being managed through them. Therefore, they're the ones having to deliver the bad news. They're the ones having to take on the responsibility. I know we're trying to prepare them for professional rugby, but they are also people. It's just it's a fiasco that has existed for as long as I can remember, and probably longer than that, and one that doesn't look like changing anytime soon. But given that we've got 4 weeks, I mean, 4 of the 8 countries competing in the Six Nations Festival have a 4-week break.
Yeah.
So surely, and I'm pretty sure the other nations have a similar break, I don't know the detail of their calendar well enough. Surely we can move these things a week later, 10 days later, and suddenly you create this space where everyone can play. And we've got to be a little bit less precious about worrying whether people get injured on school duty or not. If they do, they do. Injury is a part of sport.
Yeah.
You know,
they could get as injured at training or falling down the stairs, or like you can't wrap these players up in cotton wool. And unfortunately, it puts this difficult divide between. It takes the joy out of wearing your international jersey for some. It can really sort of poison that chalice that comes with sort of wearing an international shirt, which should be the highest. And for actually 80-90% of the players, it's going to be the first time they're going to be wearing it in a competitive fixture. So, and you don't want their first reaction to being told that they're going to play for their country being, oh, well, that means I can't do this.
Yeah.
So, look, as you say, we can almost save our breath on it because we know that we're going to have this same conversation most likely next year.
It'll never change. The bigger frustration actually is that there are players that aren't on international duty that were told by their club sides that they couldn't play in games. And at that point you go, well, technically I've not started my contract yet.
No.
So you don't have jurisdiction over me. But of course I am starting my contract soon.
Yeah,
so I'm hardly going to say no to you.
You don't want to,
What are clubs doing? Telling players who aren't going to be involved in fixtures of any description in club colours for months that they cannot have the last experience of their school rugby career, therefore impacting the experience not just of themselves but of their entire team. It's insanity, and it's overprotectionism by clubs. I'm sure they have their reasons. I'd love them to get in touch and tell us their reasons.
Yeah.
Because we don't hear the reasoning often enough, and logic says people don't do things without a reason. There must be one.
Yeah, there's two sides to the story. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly, because at surface level, it kind of stinks, and it needs fixing. But anyway, we've got the Under-18 Six Nations Festival starting tomorrow, Thursday. So we've got men's and women's. Men are in France, in Vichy, France, and the women are at Wellington College in England. 3 match days for each. The men's tournament starting on Thursday, women's on Friday, and then the men's have their second round of fixtures on Monday, women on Tuesday, and then the men's final round of fixtures is on Friday next week, and the women's final round is on Saturday next week. Slightly different formats for each. Men play 3 70-minute games, 1 on each match day. The women play a 70-minute game on their final match day, but on the first 2 match days, they play 2 35-minute games. So the women actually play everyone.
Yes.
Because they are the Six Nations. The Men's Six Nations Festival, slightly oddly, is an 8-team tournament. With the inclusion of Georgia and Spain. Georgia were in it last year, Spain replacing Portugal. Quite cool to see Spain involved.
Yeah, especially off the back of, I don't know, there's rumours and murmurings of a Spanish World Cup on the horizon in the 2030s, I think they're talking about it. But it'd be nice to see sort of building from the ground up, and you never know. We could see sort of Spanish contingents that are going to be absolutely flying into future World Cups that play in these competitions. But yeah, I think this under-18s year group is going to be interesting, because I wouldn't necessarily say that there are some absolute nailed on results and opportunities. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, I always think the under-18s, that once we get to 20s, there's a bit more of a sort of settled pattern to how
Yes.
things look. But 18s is always quite an interesting one. Not least, actually, the birth date thing has a real impact, because it's you've got to be born after
calculate.
1st January. So we've been getting loads of questions because the squads were all kind of released fully yesterday, and with loads of it. Why is so and so not in? Why, Sean Sharp actually of Harlequins and Seaver College. Why is he not in the squad? He's been brilliant. I don't know, he's born too early. He's a pre-January birth date, so unfortunately he doesn't qualify. So that's why the squads are a bit funny. But it does also mean that you get a bit of unpredictability, because actually the squads are slightly different and new, and a bit younger, particularly for the English and Welsh schools, because they obviously start in September. So it's a bit of a weird mix that creates some quite interesting stuff. I mean, I think the England squad is going to be quite impressive. I think I'm excited to see Hugh Shields in action in an international shirt. Not least because I've seen a lot of his younger brother recently as well, and he's been absolutely flying. And I'm thinking of the Shields axis for Northampton School for Boys next year.
Yeah,
it's gonna be impressive.
It'd be good. Yeah, I think there's it's great to see that translation of sort of we're starting to see that chain developed a lot more now, between you play some good schoolboy rugby, you'll get selected for your academy. You play some good academy rugby, you get selected for England. And that pathway is becoming so much clearer. So that Shields is a great example, because he had a great season with NSB, was given the keys by Northampton when they had a lot of competition for those sort of those sort of playmakers. And he took that, ran with it, played so well, especially in the final. I think it's one of those unsung heroes in the Prem Under-18s final. And then has now got his flowers alongside Henry Lumley as well. I think is one of the others that I don't have the squad in front of me.
Henry Lumley.
Another one from that Saints backline that has had that similar progression, and it just sort of it gives you that sort of the form is something that's never really talked about at age grade level, because it's usually picked on potential or picked on speed, size, athleticism, skill, and how well you perform on a training camp. But this is, you've performed well in matches that count, therefore you're getting selected, which is great to see.
Yeah, and there's some. I mean, that English squad's just full of some great players. I mean, Elliot Williams is going to be the captain, I think. From Gordon's, I mean, he's a player to watch. Play second row or sixth. I think he plays second row.
He to me feels like quite Tom Burrow-esque as well, in terms of that lead by example, does the hard work really well.
Yeah, I mean, I had the privilege back in October or November. I was in an 18s training camp, and they were doing the lineouts, and Elliot Williams was just in charge of it, and not really even asked to be. He's that kind of guy. I'm here. I'm in charge. Really, really exciting player. Really pleased to see Victor Worsnip get the call up as well from Clifton College.
He's had a tough season.
He's had a horrible season with injuries, hasn't he? But played so well in South Africa for England under-18, and then almost the moment the season started, in a schoolboy sense, he got injured, and has worked his way back into this squad, which is awesome to see. And I mean, we could go through the whole squad, couldn't we? But
one for me
is exciting.
Yeah. One for me that really I think deserves his flowers is Zach Finch, because in that Saracen side, you've obviously you're on the opposite wing to Noah Kalyori, who's taken so many plaudits throughout the course of the season. Zach Finch has quietly gone about his work really well and scored loads of tries. So like it's great to see that recognition can be transferred over. The other one for me would have been Isaac Mears, because he's had like he was kind of the linchpin for that Bath side that was so successful, because of the way they played. It relied on having a consistent level-headed nine, which at under 18 level, it's so easy to be that energetic, snipey, quick nine, that sort of kind of that Danny Care formula that we know and love. But it's so rare to see a controlled, good box kicking, good game management nine at that age. So I think credit to him, and he suits that international style really well. I can see him taking to international grade rugby really well.
Big time. And do you know what? I'm just going to check an embargo on something because I've just had an email.
Again, we just seem to get emails about things that we're talking about as they happen.
12 o'clock embargo. Okay, that's good. This isn't going to go out before 12 o'clock, so we can reveal the team for England to face Scotland tomorrow afternoon, which is
I've just got it into my inbox as well. Let's have a look. Yes.
Elliot Williams captaining the side from blindside, Jack Lewis, Northampton Saints at open side, George Marsh, the Denstone College and Leicester Tigers man at number 8, Freddie Ogden Metherell, he's come through so well from deep close in the second row alongside Henry Laidlow of Trinity School. Front row, Alan Poku, Saracens and Bishop 1, Keelan Freeman Price, another one that's been outstanding, Gloucester and Hartbury College at hooker, and Harry Wright, another Gloucester man from Stourport. At tight head, Isaac Mears, who we've just mentioned from Bath and Beach and Cliff at the scrum half. Oscar Talbot, actually another one I was about to come on to from Leicester Tigers and Rugby School at fly half. Centres, Will Knight actually co-captaining by the looks of things from Gloucester and Hartbury College at 12. Victor Worsnip, who we mentioned, Bristol Bears and Clifton College. Outside centre, wings, Charlie Tamani from Northampton Saints and Finborough, and my old club, Bury St Edmunds. And Junior Denny on the other wing, Gloucester and Bloxham. Fullback, Northampton Saints and Leeds star man, James Pater. And then the replacements are the pretty much the rest of the squad. Gerald Galeck, Oliver Spencer, Sam Bland, Archie Appleby, Tate Williams, Matthew Branch Holland, James Townsend, Hugh Shields, Declan Treacy, Henry Lumley, and Zach Finch. That's England against Scotland tomorrow, 12:15 kickoff.
Yes, I mean, one of the names that stands out to me there that I'm so excited that's getting a start is Charlie Tamani. I don't know if he's still 16, he might be 17 yet, I'm not sure. I know he's definitely got a year left in him of under 18 rugby, and we saw the raw potential that he has. Like, yes, he's not the finished article, but who is at 16? But his sort of athleticism, pace and power supersedes any doubts and worries about defensive work or sort of skill or whatever. Man, he's going to be brilliant. Another Finborough product that now is obviously under the capable sort of academy coaching group at Northampton, which I think will make a difference, because the way Northampton play really leans into the way that Charlie Tamani wants to play. And the fact that he's getting an England start at under 18 level at lower sixth is so impressive.
Yeah, it's very cool, isn't it? I mean, it's just an awesome opportunity for all these lads, isn't it? But very, very cool. So yeah, that's England against Scotland, which I suppose means I'll just have a quick look. I've got the squad in front of me. Have a quick look at this Scotland squad. Because there's a few guys actually from Scotland who will have seen a lot on the English scene that are coming up. Glenn Gamble, particularly Clifton College and Bristol Bears winger, who I likened early on in the season to Kenny Logan, and then decided I'd come up with a more modern reference and likened him to Blair Kinghorn. He's a real sort of balanced player. He kicks sticks, which was why the Kenny Logan reference came up. Kick sticks, but he's a giant of a man, and he's got this languid running style that's absolutely brilliant. Nesbitt from Sedbergh is up with them as well. Another one that I'm so pleased he's getting international recognition. Is Will Corbett from Wellington College in Bath, who's been such a sort of reliable figure in the Wellington College team for 2 years. Of just sort of he's had a lot of stars around him, and he's one of these guys that just does his job and does it seriously well.
Yeah.
He's been absolutely brilliant. But also loads of Scottish-based player. I mean, Henry Widdowson from Merkston Castle, fly half or fullback. He's a top player. There's some absolutely fantastic players in that team. Really excited to see how they go. I mean, the England first up is a brutal way to start the tournament, but
Yeah.
they will be bang up for it, and they've had results against England before at this kind of age group,
Yeah.
so they'll be feeling that they can do damage. And with a few guys in there, you look at the schools that these guys they called up from England are at in terms of Sedbergh, Clifton College, Wellington College. They're going to be very familiar with a lot of the players they're playing against.
Yeah.
Although there's only 3 of them in that squad, and in fact you've got Taylor from Cranley as well, I should point out, and Trailer from Filton. This is why we should prep.
Yeah.
5 of them in the squad that travel up from England. It's not that they may well start, they may well not, but that knowledge of the players they're going to be playing against is going to be absolutely massive and really, really important for that Scotland squad. But it'll be a good contest to get ourselves started off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm now digging into these Six Nations squads. There's a few obviously in the Welsh outfit that we can recognise. Jack Harrison from Bath had such a good season. George Leyland from Bristol. Obviously Noah and Ocean Williams again from Bristol. Luca Woodyack. Obviously Welsh rugby is had a bit of a bomb dropped yesterday with the whole news about Cardiff and whatnot, and we know from experience and whatever that academy rugby is usually one of the first things that they look to try and shed in terms of funding, etc., etc. So at a time like that, I think it'd be really, really poignant to see Wales just give this festival a good crack, because we just don't know the state that Welsh rugby is in at the moment. But you look at their, and this might be a nice segue, you look at their under-20s performance a couple of weeks ago. It shows that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And if they can get this right, if this Welsh under-18s team can be as good, then you've now all of a sudden got a 4-year period of some top quality players that can potentially come and firefight and come to the rescue of the senior squad.
Big time. Well, as you rightly mentioned, I mean, we never really got the chance to talk about the end of the 26 nations. Didn't see that coming.
No. Like Wales clearly didn't read the script because they just were really, really difficult and really frustrating. And I think it was. Look, you want to win a Grand Slam, you want to win a Six Nations, but I'm going to get inside of Mark Mapletop's head, and I can imagine after you take away all the errors that were handed to them in that game and the issues and whatever. A couple of weeks back now, if we were to speak to him today, I think he'd probably say that it wasn't a bad result for them in terms of their development, because those players have had it all their way. In England shirts. Some of them I don't think have ever lost in an England shirt, or something along those lines. And not only have they lost, but they've lost inches away from a Grand Slam, inches away from a Six Nations, and also away from home in Wales on the eve of England's senior performance against Wales as well, which kind of showed what could have happened, I guess, if things had gone their way.
Yeah, could have done with Henry Pollock in the team, actually, couldn't they?
And that's the thing. That shows how far beyond this England under-20s team can be on their day. But it wasn't their day, and it was Wales's day.
Yeah, it was Wales's day for sure. I mean,
we've got to give them their plaudits.
I mean, that's the sort of performance, the sort of result that could well be a catalyst for Welsh rugby,
Yeah,
returning to something near competitiveness at the senior end, because that whole group of players is going to believe, well, we can beat anyone. We've beaten what I think most people would say is, at current point in time, the best under-20s team in the world.
yeah,
We've beaten them. They're going to be going, well, there's no fear now. We can beat anyone. If we can beat them, there's no reason we can't beat anyone else. And that will carry through into senior rugby.
yeah.
In many ways, it is a little bit of what Warren Gatland was looking for when he was in charge, which was get some confident youngsters in, get rid of players who've maybe been burned a bit by the recent results, and just stuff the place full of lads that are full of confidence and belief. And there's an opportunity to do that now.
There are so many of that in that squad. Like, love to see Harry Bedell. Harry Bedell, I thought, was just like the epitome of that side. The fight he showed. Tom Bowen as well. Tom Bowen at fullback just seemed to continually pull rabbits out of the hat. He's so good. It was brilliant. I mean, I think him and Blair Murray is going to be a fascinating battle. You probably can't at international level have both of them in a back three for Wales. But so it means they'll probably be battling it out for the same shirt, and it could be this generation's Halfpenny Williams conversation in terms of who's going to wear that 15 or wing shirt for the senior side. I think it was poignant in a week, if you can remember, a week in which Kepu Tuipulotu came out and talked about how much he decided to play for England and turned down a Wales senior opportunity to stay in the England age grade setup. Him obviously coming up against some players that have gone through such adversity, even like Sam Scott, for example. The fight that he's had to show coming out and being dropped out of that Midland Central, it was part of the City of Oxford Ace College setup, and thought he'd have an opportunity to go there with Wasps. Has been picked up by Bristol, taken chances where he got them, but performed so well on an international stage. Like, I mean, the Emmanuel brothers is another incredible story. There's so many that I think deserve their flowers after. And it wasn't just that England performance; it was the performance against Italy.
It'd been coming. They've been building. Yeah. They really have been.
It wasn't a flash in the pan.
No, we spoke about it through the tournament about how Wales were impressing us, and it started off with just being more competitive than we thought they were going to be. It then became, they're doing well here, and capitalised with ultimately the result of the entire tournament. I mean, I don't think anyone would really argue with that. It was seriously impressive. I mean, the only frustration for me is I don't think many of these guys are going to get an opportunity to maybe get a run out in the summer with the senior setup, because I don't think they're going to have many players on the Lions tour. Therefore, there's not going to be a lot of openings. But I do. I
hope they do, though. Yeah, I hope they do. I hope they do go and chuck a few of these players out. Even like Reece Weldon. I mean, I think the image of him basically kind of like crawling off the pitch because he had nothing left was quite sort of a good extended metaphor for the way that Wales have played. And I mean, it's poignant to touch upon England briefly, I think, because despite obviously that result, they had so many incredible moments across the Six Nations period. They were probably the best team. They just had a really poor performance against Wales. So it'd be interesting to see. So a lot of those players now that are in that squad have now gone on to. You look at Angus Hall, for example. A couple of weeks later is starting in Gallagher Premiership and Champions Cup games. Like obviously Kepu came off the bench in Po in the Champions Cup.
You see that as well, played against his cousin Carwyn.
Carwyn. Cool. Yeah, and like there's so many different avenues. I'm looking at the team, like Ben Cohen as well has seemed to slowly going to make himself a bit of a mainstay.
His
at
rise
fly
is
half.
just amazing.
Yeah.
And actually, he's at the right club to be a good fly half because
Yeah.
extra little thin in the 10 department. So
well, they've had. I think he's going to be wary of the fact that since Joe Simmons, they've been trying to plug that gap. Like obviously Harvey Skinner, Will Hayden-Wood came in. They were like, right, here's the answer, and then since then those two have kind of not been putting their hand up as much. If Ben Cohen can just come in and sort of sneak past both of them and affirm his place, that'd be really really interesting to watch. Like there's names upon names. Kane James has continued to make headlines about potentially being swept up by other clubs and nations and whatever. But I think he's going to be pretty happy to continue to plough on. And like Rob Baxter spoke about how important he is to Exeter's project, and saying that no, you can't. We don't want him to go to Wales. We want him to stay here. And then I think put him on the bench in a couple of games in the Premiership as well. So like it's this team have got a lot more developing to do, and will have the opportunity to do it because they are so good. And I'm sure we'll be rueful about missing out on that chance, but I've got places to go.
It will be. Do you think any of those lads, I mean, England are probably going to have somewhere in the region of 10, 12 Lions.
Yeah.
I would have thought. So do you think any of those 20s lads have got a chance of going to Argentina this summer? Maybe Kepu as a third choice hooker?
I was thinking Kepu, but then you look at, does Jamie George, so I think Jamie George is the third choice hooker for the Lions, because I think he's the perfect midweek captain. I think you take the two Irish, and then I think you take Jamie George because of just like he sums up Lions for me. So maybe that's where Kepu slides in. Honestly, I think maybe Olamide Shadeki or Tom Burrow, one of the two, because I think depending on how fit George Martin's going to be, obviously Marrow's going to the Lions. Maybe Ollie Chessum might go as well. So I think
in England towards the end of the Six Nations, they were really using only Marrow and Ollie Chessum, and Chandler Cunningham South ended up on the road.
Yeah, exactly. And then you look at that. You look at the England A squad of who from there is, and then they had like Arthur Clarke and Hugh Tizard, who, let's face it, I don't think are going to be looking at England senior call-ups for years to come. So maybe Borthwick goes, right, okay, this is a chance to bleed through that next generation. So I think Shadeki, Burrow.
Is there space maybe if Will Stewart looks pretty likely to go on the Lions? Is there space for a third tight head, maybe Billy Seller or Ty Raymond?
Yeah.
You're probably going to have, you're probably going to have Joe Hees going, and for Sogbon probably, or Asher Opoku Forjord, but
that's the thing is
if there's space for another, one of them could go.
For Sogbon being fit, I think could plug that gap. I don't know how fit Billy Seller is at the moment. I don't know where he is in terms of his recovery. I think Ty Raymond had a great competition, but I'd just love to see him getting a few more club appearances. And I think there's probably no better, potentially other than Bath, no better front row to learn in at the moment in the Premiership than Sale. So I think that could be where he could end up.
The other one I wonder about, they moved about with what they were doing at 9, but I do wonder about Archie McParland, because Mitchell's got a good chance of going.
Again, it's whether he's fit. I think.
Yeah.
I do think that's where, like, it's kind of been overlooked because of how strong they are in terms of depth at England under 20s level. But they had their two top quality 9s out in McParland and Friday. Yeah. They were down to their third and fourth choice 9, and in a side that relies so heavily on halfbacks, that was something that kind of flew under the radar, because you're like, oh, Dom Hanson, perfect, brilliant, what a player. Even Joe Davis has had Premiership minutes. So like, you're like, oh, brilliant, perfect, no problem, we've got great 9s. But you're forgetting that about sort of like I'd love to see Lucas Friday. Obviously get some minutes. I know he's ACL, isn't he? So he's probably I think the new year we'll see him.
Come back as beginning, but it's a slow process.
Yeah, I think if McParland can return, he's got a shoulder injury, so if he can return to the back end of the Premiership running, I wouldn't be surprised if he slots into that second choice 9 position now at Northampton. Now that they're out of the Premiership running. Yes, I know they've got sort of European things to contend with, but like I think once McParland's fit, will probably surpass Tom James. So having Mitchell and McParland as your 2 9s is quite exciting. So
and that's the thing. That's why I kind of wonder if he's fit, if he might get a bit of an England
opportunity. We got England A. He got England A, didn't he?
He got England A, and that England backline now is stacked full of Saints players.
Yeah.
And in a funny sort of way, there being a Lions tour is possibly likely to only increase that number of Saints players, because you're probably. Yeah, is Furbank going to be fit again? Is Furbank going to tour with the Lions? Not quite sure. So he's probably going to come back into that.
I don't think he'll go to Lions. I think he'll go to England. I think Fraser Dingwall will potentially cement his position as sort of like the next 12 for England.
It's even potentially space if Freeman goes on tour, which he probably
Hendy.
will. Does Hendy get a bit of game time? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that Saints link is going to be there. I mean, Finn Smith may go on the Lions tour, but the competition for that 10 shirt is pretty fierce. There's every chance he doesn't go. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, it's a shame that Slightholme is out injured, because I do think that Saints connection would have possibly given McParland some good time. I'm conscious we haven't really talked much about the women's Six Nations.
No,
in part because we don't get a huge amount of opportunity to see these players in action. I mean, when the music stops in the women's game, it tends to be England and France that are up near the top.
Yeah.
And this England, I'm just having a look at the England squad now, and it's pretty tasty. I mean, Isabel van der Straten was fantastic last year, and will be again this year.
Tamsin Baines for me is relentless.
And there's a healthy Loughborough College contingent, actually, isn't there? Exeter College and Hartpury College were the two sort of top sides in that Ace League, but actually not that well. I mean, 3 Exeter College players and a couple of Hartpury, but actually Loughborough College really probably the most represented side in that squad, and just shows they probably had a slightly younger team and still did well to finish third in that Ace League. So strong England squad. France is probably going to be their biggest test, and just in terms of fixtures, that's kind of the way the tournament is set up. I mean, I mentioned it at the start that everyone in the first 2 rounds plays 2 35-minute games. So from England's perspective, on match day 1, that's Italy and Ireland, and on match day 2, that's Scotland and Wales. But the tournament is designed around that third game, or that third match day, your 70-minute game, being against the side that is judged that you're most likely to have the most even game against. And that statement at the beginning that when the music stops, it tends to be England-France is borne out in match day 3's fixture. It's 2:15 kickoff, England against France, is likely to be sort of the game of the tournament, and definitely one to look out for.
Yeah, the only other name that I sort of would be keen to mention is Lily Pereira of the Santos, who's had a good season at Oakland, and a flying winger who I think performed quite well at Rosslyn Park as well.
Oh, blew the place up, yeah.
Exactly. So
Dave Rogers and Joe Burns were absolutely beside themselves watching it. Absolutely loved what she was doing.
Quick and pace, and she'd be great getting back into the 15 swing, I think.
Yeah. Back to the men's tournament, just quickly, just to take you through match day 1 fixtures. Georgia, Italy, 10 o'clock on Thursday morning. England, Scotland, 12:15 p.m. on Thursday. France, Spain, 3:15, and Wales, Ireland, 5:30. Tasty fixtures. We mentioned, Spain and Georgia. Very cool to have them along. maybe we need to rethink the name of the tournament. But
Yeah, how many nations is too many? And what point is it not called the Six Nations anymore?
exactly. Well, this is the trouble. Once you become a brand, it becomes very difficult to adapt to
Yeah,
what you're calling it. But it should be. I mean, it's always an exciting one. It's just amazing to see this many talented youngsters just go out
yeah,
and play. And the one of the big things actually they're very keen on. This has been a sort of it has always been the case, but it's now being included in all the press releases and everything that every single player in the tournament, men's and women's, will start a game.
yeah.
So everyone's going to get their opportunity. Everyone's going to have a starting jersey that they can stick on their wall at home, and whether this is as good as it ever gets for them, or whether they do something greater, that they're always going to have that memory of that game they started for whoever their nation is.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I do love the festival aspect of it in
Yeah,
that it's not like a competition based where it's more of a showcase. So you can see these players, just see what they're made of, and see. I wonder if we're going to get some viral clips and moments out of some random Georgian flanker that just sort of turns up and absolutely tears things to pieces, or whether we
almost
get a
certainly.
or whether we get a Spanish fullback running the length. Like I love that they've been able to kind of relax things a little bit with the under 18 and go, you know what? Yeah, Georgia, you can come. Spain, you can come. Let's do it all on one day. Let's get so much rugby out there. Like on a Thursday as well. It means it's not. It can be seen. It can be viewed. It can be gathered. It's not competing with senior rugby or senior football or whatever on a Saturday. You're not taking it seriously. You're not. Well, you are taking it seriously, but you're not sort of determining points difference and teams looking to kick for goal because they want to build the leads. Like they're just going to go out and play some good rugby, and it means that the product, because they're such high quality players, the product is 10 times better.
Oh, it's just awesome to watch. Absolutely awesome to watch. Never fails to excite. Even get last year Georgia beating France. I mean,
Yeah,
it is so unpredictable, particularly at this age group. And if you build a little bit of momentum, match day one or match day two, you can do some really special stuff. It's awesome to see. And as you say, we've seen a lot of these guys absolutely star over the course of the season. In a lot of cases at Rosslyn Park as well. It's going to be very, very cool to see. Right, before we finish, how is Sam Roberts? Because he had quite the stint. 5 days at Rosslyn Park.
he's on vocal rest. He's on vocal rest.
That's good.
No, he's doing well. He put in the long stint. Not as much. Well, I know Wilf Kemsley did Caldecott in between, so I think shout out to him as well for basically a week's worth of conversation.
Try and wrestle the microphone off Wilf at the moment. He was absolutely loving it.
Yeah, exactly. But no, he's certainly got his dose of schoolboy rugby. I wonder if he's certainly due for a reappearance on here to delve into some more details, because in terms of people that had their eyes on the next generation and who we can potentially account for from this under 18 Six Nations Festival, him, and maybe we get him and Will, and we do both at the same time, and we get all the knowledge.
Well, we
from
do that, Will,
minute.
and you and I aren't getting a word in edgeways with those.
Oh no, we just sit back and relax. You just press record, and then we sit back and relax. Go make a cup of tea, and by the end of it, we'll have a podcast.
Exactly. That's the way these things should be. Well, it's been a little while, but we've covered some good ground today.
We have, and in good time.
In good time, always in good time. I've got to run off very shortly because I'm
crossing the
on
pond.
holiday in a moment. Crossing the pond, and I'll be keeping an eye on the under 18 Six Nations. Wilf's actually keeping a good close eye on it for us, but I'm going to be taking in some baseball this week.
Are you?
Well, you gotta mix things up. I've already got my souvenir bought in advance. I've got a baseball.
Oh, perfect. You usually get those out there rather than sort of pre-preparing. But
Well, I
no,
thought I
that's good.
needed to train just in case I got the call up.
Well,
'Cause
yeah, you bring in your glove, bring your bat,
yeah,
just in
exactly.
case.
Well, I look like I'm a budding athlete, so I'm surely someone will take a chance on a youngster
Yeah,
in the
no,
crowd.
they'll see you come through security and sort of guide you straight through the tunnel, I assume. So
I would
yeah,
have thought so.
perfect.
I mean, that's how you do it, isn't it? You bring your own ball and
American sport though, American sports where it's at. I think that's where the way that they're treated. I spent a bit of time at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium a couple of weeks ago and got a peek in at the NFL changing rooms at Tottenham Hotspur
oh
Stadium.
yeah, they've got the separate ones, haven't
Oh
they?
my goodness, they are massive. Absolutely, you've got like there's a home changing room, coaches room that is bigger than most bed sits in North London. It has a living room, bathroom sort of area, like a little bassinet, and sort of it's lovely. And basically, it's used once a year for about 5 minutes. So there you go. If I think if we're going to try and move sports, then if we get into American sport, I know the WER has just kicked off Women's Elite Rugby, which is the women's version of the MLR out in the States. So there's certainly murmurs and moves, and the rugby world's making waves in the States. If you can put in a couple of words when you're over there and sort of get us
I'll
good deals, get us some
I'll
good
let them know.
good condos. That'd be
Yeah,
nice.
I'd imagine that they're absolutely itching for us, so I'll let them know that we're available.
Yeah,
Which does remind me, before we close off to the listeners, we must do our mock draft at some point.
yeah, we must.
I
We
think I
must.
think it's an
It's
absolute
time.
must. We'll do it after the Six Nations Festival
Yeah, just
before the
before.
20s kicks off
Yeah,
in
just
that
before the
nice
20s
window
kicks
there.
off, when all the team, when everyone's announced where they're going, we're going to go, stop, hold on, no, I
Here's where
think
you
you
should
should
have
go
gone.
there.
Do you know
Here's
what?
what you could have won.
We maybe need this. Perhaps this is the one to get Sam Roberts and Will Kelmsley on, because we maybe need 10 team managers
Yes,
to
it could
select.
be absolutely mental. It could be
Yeah,
absolutely mental. And we each get a team. Yeah, brilliant. Sold.
right.
Sorted. Let's
We're
do
going to
that.
do it. We'll plan it properly, much
Yeah.
like we planned the depth of this podcast. Um,
Yeah,
we will plan it
yeah,
extensively. But
indeed.
thank you everyone for listening or indeed for watching. You know how to get in touch. You know where to find us. We'll be back again. Hopefully next week at some point, once I'm back and in the throes of the under 16 Six Nations? No, the under 18
Not
Six
yet.
Nations. Not
Yeah.
yet, not yet. Under 16 team for England hasn't existed for a few years.
No,
But Will, thanks very much for joining. Have a good
pleasure.
weekend.
Likewise, good luck. Good luck in the States securing us those deals.
I'm sure it will happen. Cheers, everyone.